everyone, Shakira with another Transformers review, and today I'll be reviewing the Byweight Toys Base Fortress Heidelberg, aka Zarak and Mega Zarak, one of my favorite characters from the Headmasters cartoon. This guy is big. Not as big as some of the official Titans, but still quite big indeed. For a quick comparison, Trypticon. And see how big they are compared to each other. So Trypticon is decently bigger, at least in height, but I still think in bulk Trypticon is a bit bigger. But I think that this guy, regardless, is better than Earthrise. Although I think I did damage something in one of the transformations, which will actually be later in the video because I film stuff out of order sometimes. But one of his hips, I think, kind of got damaged, sort of like the Trypticon hip thing. Although it's not super loose and it does ratchet in some places, I think one of the teeth probably broke off. Oh well, I might take it apart, maybe not, since it doesn't seem to be that loose, and I can probably do something to tighten that up if need be. This isn't quite a one-for-one with the way it should look compared to the G1 Scorponok, but it is pretty close. Whereas the orange right here would have been on top right there, and then the two guns that are underneath on this side of the shoulder would have been on top of the legs. But as far as like the shield pieces, those pretty much go where they're supposed to. But I will say with the guns, the turrets, you can put them here, on there. You can also put them on the inside of the thumb, or of the claw, like right in there. He does come with this big old Nerf looking gun, but it is what the Toys gun looked like. And then he comes with these blast effects, which go into all of those barrels, and they look really cool. As far as Scorpion mode is concerned, there's not a whole lot you can do in here. He does have 8 legs, which are more articulated than the Earthrise one, which I absolutely love. Although, obviously, he can't really... These legs cannot support the bulk of this guy. So this guy is really just resting on the table with the legs standing on the side. They're just for show. I mean, honestly, Scorponok's legs have always been for show, I imagine. And then there's probably treads or something underneath. But then again, maybe Scorponok actually does walk on these in the cartoon. I can't really remember, because usually Zarak would go into well, I guess it depends. Did they actually call him Scorponok, or did they always just call him like Zarak and all that? But this obviously is his transector, and then this is the back part of the shield, which is really cool the way it kind of just sits right there. Yeah, this is just really cool. The only other thing that you can really do in the Scorpion mode, which I think is really cool, especially considering that most mainline, and I guess even third party to an extent, don't have firing missiles, but you can fire out the tip of the stinger, and that is just really cool. Although I'm afraid of losing it, but part of me is tempted to just cut the tip off and glue it on there so that there isn't a hole if it goes missing. But there is a spare one, so maybe if that one gets lost and the spare, then maybe I'll consider getting rid of it. One other thing that I'll show off right now is this alternate head for Zarak, which I think is pretty cool because you can make him an actual headmaster. And this is accurate, pretty accurate to the cartoon, but it is more of a box and flat. But the main head for Zarak is in there. But considering I don't believe he was a double headmaster in the original cartoon. It was just, he formed the head for Scorponok. He wasn't like Fort Max that had both, or was 2 headmasters. But so this is just a nice little addition if you want to do it. So let's get him into his base mode. we have him in his base mode, and he looks quite impressive. Not quite as impressive as Trypticon perhaps, but still very cool. And I'd say better than Earthrise. Oh man, his city mode, base mode, is really cool because you have the two halves of the gun that make the towers. You have some claws right here for, like, I don't know, repair bays or destruction bays. You have rocket launchers here and here behind Zarak, who is actually a somewhat decent sized headmaster, which is why I like this set to begin with, is that you have all this. And then, of course, there's this little headmaster. So I guess it depends on which Zarak you want to go with the city mode. Obviously, if you want something more impressive and imposing, you would use the little headmaster. And then, of course, the little Ultra Magnus and the little Galvatron. And that's pretty cool. Too bad they're not painted, but they're really tiny, so it's understandable. And then, of course, we have the little artillery vehicle. I think this fast track is pretty cool compared to the Titan's Returns one, or no, Siege, the Siege line. It is either Siege or Earthrise, but I think that this is a really cool one. This one doesn't really parts form. He actually just, you know, is a little tank, which I think is cool. Although the turret right here, this part right here is really stiff, but I think he is a nice little tank. And one last little detail for the base mode. Let's just lift this up, but there is a little light switch, which is also for robot mode, and it just has light up arrows. It's something. It's okay. I mean, lighting is okay when you have it, but could have been something else, I guess. And Zarak, he is really cool. This face is obviously more rounded and more accurate to the cartoon. Maybe. Because this one does look a little more flat and two-dimensional, but as far as like looking from other sides and angles, this is the head that you want. It is just on a swivel because it's just a peg, because like I said, you can use that other head. The arms go out that far, can do a full 360 bicep rotation. You can move these side panels out pretty far, which I think is really nice. They even have that. You can get overnight you've been at the elbow, that is probably for transformation. You get a wrist rotation, which is pretty nice. Waist rotation, legs go forward that far, back that far. You can do the full splits. Thigh rotation, legs go forward that far, back that far. About now you've been at the knee, and he does have ankle tiltage, which is quite nice. The only downside that I have with pretty much most headmasters is that there isn't necessarily a good way to hide the robot mode face. The third party, well, not even third party, even the original Fortress Maximus, his Fortress Maximus's face is covered up by the his like visor thing that goes over his head. So I think that that's pretty nice. One thing to note, and you'll probably see it during transformation, and that's another thing. There's no instructions. The only way that I've found to get him into the head mode frame without causing unnecessary stress, from what I can tell, is to remove this eyepiece right here. To remove that, slide the head in, and then put it back on. Now that we got both of these guys in robot mode, let's take a quick look at Fast Track first. I just love the little details on him. I mean, he's really small. I think he's about the same size as Zarak in his robot mode. Oh, I think I forgot a little something. There we are. Okay. Yeah, forgot about that. And that's also is why I hate the fact that this set did not come with instructions. I could have looked at a bunch of videos on how to do it, but on principle, I think they should have instructions. Anyway, like I said, I do like the detail on this guy. He is just a lot packed into a small little package. Now there is one thing, if you didn't notice, he does have actual hands underneath these guns. Although I don't think the original Fast Track actually had hands underneath the guns, but I think that is a nice little detail that they most certainly did not have to do. I just like this guy, and then I like the clear plastic on his chest. It just looks really nice. And the bright orange for his wheels. They are snap-on tires, so I'm not the biggest fan of that, but hey, it is what it is. I would rather them cut a little bit of corners or not have as much for the little guy than I would for the big main set. Articulation, the head is on a ball joint. He can look up very far. It doesn't really get any wibbly wobbly, but the head should be able to do a full 360. Oh my, but that's so stiff. Oh, here, that feels like it's almost stuck. Okay, I'm actually kind of scared right now. His head is stuck, and I'm afraid to break it. To break that little ball joint. I think that, hopefully it's not, okay, there we are. Okay, I am not going to try doing a full 360 because I do not want to snap off that peg, or that ball joint. But hey, if you can safely pop that head off, maybe you could do that if you decide to get this set and just file it down just a little bit, but then you risk also making it a little too loose, so use caution. But yeah, definitely that's kind of scary. Arms can go out that far, can do a full 360. Elbow rotation, about 90 bend at the elbow. There is wrist rotation. Waist rotation, legs go forward that far, back that far, can do the full splits. Thigh rotation, and a little bit of hip rotation right there. About 90 bend at the knee, and ankle tiltage, which is very impressive for something this size. Back to the big guy. He is, whoa, very impressive. Obviously, well, I don't know if it's that obvious. He is smaller by, I'm not exactly sure how much. I think it's like a couple inches, maybe 3 inches shorter than the Earthrise Scorponok. But, oh man, he is still more than big enough for me. And I really hope this company that made this guy makes Fortress Maximus to go with him. Although the Earthrise one was cool, and I did have him once upon a time, and this is what I got as a replacement. I think I got him for like 90 something bucks, like just under $100 or just over $100 on Shozi's store, and that was, oh, it was a very good deal. Now it was on sale at the time, but it's still such a good deal. When I think Earthrise, this before they reissued him, I think was going for like a couple hundred at that point or more. So I was like, I want one that's more Headmasters cartoon accurate anyway. The head is only on a swivel. My only concern is with the way, well, I guess this goes with most Headmasters, but is that the tabs that hold the head in place are going to eventually become too loose, and the head will just be flopping off. Unfortunately, on my copy, the visor is a little scratched. I'm not sure if that happened before or after I got it. It's been a while. He's been sitting in Scorpion mode while I was waiting to review him. These blast effects, I really like them. So much so that, as you can see, I have left them in pretty much the whole time that I've had this guy. But it's so cool. And I love how these guns are articulated. I mean, that is just so nice. More than what Earthrise did. I think Earthrise had maybe a little bit, but then again, maybe they didn't move at all. I can't remember. I know that they at least swiveled, but that's about it at most. Yeah, detail. There's a lot of detail on this guy. One big thing is this right here. I love how they have the stats for speed, strength, and intelligence. I just think that is so nice. And I also love how they include this little panel, which fills in the bottom of Scorpion mode when it's, or is it another? Anyway, there's a decent amount of panels that are meant to fill in gaps, which I think is really nice, so that you don't have to see the Scorpion legs in his robot mode. And then you can, while that's open, you can turn on that light, and he has a light up chest, which I think is pretty cool. Not as cool as light up eyes, but still cool nonetheless. And then there's these panels right here. I think I had to put those in. I can't remember, but there's a lot of like plug fillers, like for like screw holes and stuff. And they actually had some extras. At least I'm assuming they're extra because I could not, for the life of me, figure out where they're supposed to go. And then there's those extras right there. If they ever, I don't know, fall out or something, which they shouldn't because they're held in, they're like so tight on the friction. Anyway, but some of those were like the orange ones for the claws and hands, which I just think is so cool. I do like the Zarak shield. I do believe that is the correct way to have it transformed. I think that is more for when, you know, going into like Scorpion mode or for more storage purposes. But this thing is so cool. That's why I really would love to have a Fortress Maximus to go with this guy. Obviously, the Titans Returns one would be too big for this one, although, I mean, G1 toy-wise has always been smaller than Fort Max, but in the anime, they were comparable in size, so I would love to have one that goes well with this figure. Articulation, like I mentioned earlier, head is on a swivel. Arms can, oh, come on, don't do the full splits on me right now, I'm not ready for that. But arms can go pretty much all the way up because of the shoulder and transformation, but it's on a nice strong ratchet. Got essentially bicep / elbow rotation right there, and then a wrist rotation of sorts right there. Arms can pretty much, should be able to do, well, would otherwise be able to do a full 360, except for the Scorpion leg hinge in the back getting in the way, but hey, you get more than enough range of motion right there. The hands, or Scorpion claws, are articulate quite a bit. You get individual claw articulation for right here, and then articulation right here, and articulation right there. So these are some pretty articulated claws, I think more so than the Earthrise one. And then you have waist rotation on a ratchet. You get thigh rotation on a ratchet. You get leg lift on a ratchet, although it feels like it doesn't quite support the weight, but hey, that's... Uh-oh. Did it break? No, I don't think the ratchet broke, but it did feel weird for it, like a little... I don't hear anything around, so I guess the ratchet didn't break. Well, that's good. That's very good, because that'd be very sad. Okay, and it can do the full splits. Can do over 90 degree bend at the knee, but that's also partly because of transformation. And then he does have ankle tiltage, which is quite nice.
So that's about it for Byway Toys Base Fortress Heidelberg, aka Zarak and Mega Zarak. And if you like this review and you'd like to see more, please click that like and subscribe button to see more. Until next time, have a good one, everyone.